What if the future of Britain's crown rests on a contract no one was ever meant to see? This week, an anonymous woman in court filings she's called only S claims she was paid to carry Prince Archie, sworn to vanish afterward, and is now ready to drop the receipts. Video interviews teasing dates, payment ledgers, even recorded calls have lit up the internet, turning a long-running whisper into a very real paper trail threat. And the Sussexes? Nothing. No brisk legal rebuttal, no Instagram notes app manifesto, just radio silence from a couple famous for suing tabloids at warp speed and clapping back the moment a headline misquotes them. Royal watchers and even friendly outlets are calling the hush deafening, wondering whether the strategy is caution or quiet panic. The stakes stretch far beyond clickbait drama. UK surrogacy law, questions of royal lineage, and Archie's very place in the line of succession are suddenly on the table. Even palace insiders admit the monarchy won't stop spinning until irrefutable proof surfaces. So buckle up. Because if S really does unleash those texts, this story won't just bruise a brand, it could rewrite a 1,000-year rulebook, and that's exactly where we begin. She calls herself nothing more. In a sworn statement filed with a Los Angeles court this spring, she says a private fertility agency handpicked her in 2018, ushered her into a Beverly Hills boardroom, and slid a non-disclosure agreement across the glass. The terms? Carry the child, keep silent forever, and walk away with a life-changing payout wired to an offshore trust. She claims senior advisors for the Sussexes attended 2 of those meetings, flanked by lawyers who promised full protection once the baby was safely delivered. According to S, payments arrived on schedule until 2023, when transfers stopped without warning. Now she's done hiding. In private interviews leaked to YouTube channels and tabloids, S rattles off dates, wire transfer IDs, and the names of 3 attorneys she says can verify everything. What makes her story hit harder is the calm, almost clinical way she tells it. No teary reality show confession, no book deal, just the promise of screenshots, bank stubs, and recorded calls if anyone dares challenge her. Even skeptics inside Fleet Street admit the detail feels dangerously specific. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace sources whisper that if S truly drops those receipts, the monarchy could face its most embarrassing legitimacy crisis since Edward VIII abdicated. Yet, despite the growing storm, Meghan and Harry remain silent, their legal team refusing press inquiries at this time. For a couple famed for rapid-fire lawsuits, that hush is deafening, and it's giving S all the oxygen she needs. One journalist put it bluntly, if her docs are real, they don't just tug at loose threads, they yank the whole tapestry off the wall. And that's the tension winding tighter by the hour, because every minute the Sussex camp stays quiet, the world leans in closer to hear what S says next. For years, the Sussexes have fired off lawsuits like warning shots. Meghan's decisive 2019 privacy case against the Mail on Sunday won her a legal victory, even if the damages were a token £1. Harry's phone hacking battle with Rupert Murdoch's tabloids wrapped in January 2025 with a substantial settlement and public apology from the Sun's publisher. Whenever the press crossed a line, the couple's lawyers crossed it right back, fast, loud, and on the record. So when an alleged surrogate surfaced in early 2025, royal watchers braced for another legal broadside. Instead, nothing. No writs delivered, no statement of denial, just a curious Instagram swipe at haters, a collage that showed Meghan's bare baby bump but stopped short of naming the accusation. The tabloids called the hush deafening, and even palace insiders whispered that the lack of formal rebuttal was out of character. Why the sudden mute button? Some PR veterans suggest the Sussexes are buying time to verify what evidence actually holds. Others think any response could drag Buckingham Palace and Archie's place in the line of succession into open court. Either way, each news cycle they stay silent tightens the narrative around them. And to understand why that vacuum is so dangerous, we have to rewind to spring 2019, when the first cracks in Meghan's picture-perfect pregnancy began to show. In the spring of 2019, Meghan's baby bump became a story all its own. Tabloids zoomed in on photographs where the curve seemed to shift shape from one engagement to the next, spawning moon bump threads that accused her of wearing a prosthetic belly. At first, most outlets dismissed the chatter. But then a playful Instagram clip of Meghan dancing in a maternity ward surfaced years later, and the conspiracy crowd roared back, insisting the jiggle proved the bump was fake. The optics only fanned the flames. Unlike every modern royal mother before her, Meghan skipped the traditional Lindo wing photo call, no hospital steps, no fussing with a swaddled newborn in front of flashbulbs. She announced Archie's arrival hours after the fact and posed days later inside Windsor Castle, under vaulted ceilings and washed soft lighting that felt more Vogue spread than royal reveal. Even sympathetic commentators admitted the stage management looked unprecedented. Official documents complicated the picture further. When Archie's birth certificate finally became public, it showed he'd been delivered not at home in Frogmore Cottage, as reporters were initially led to believe, but at London's private Portland hospital. The quiet correction ignited fresh talk of selective transparency. If the location mattered so little, why obscure it in the first place? Piece by piece, what once seemed like harmless privacy requests, angled photos, delayed announcements, controlled interiors, began to look, to skeptics at least, like choreography. And the more tightly the Sussex team curated every frame, the more certain online detectives became that something off-camera wasn't meant to be seen. Which raises the bigger question, was all this just the price of guarding a family moment, or a calculated choice to keep Meghan's Hollywood-perfect image spotless? That obsession with control takes center stage next. Long before tiaras and titles, Meghan learned the power of the frame. In Hollywood, she went from a suitcase-holding extra on Deal or No Deal to paralegal-turned-it-girl Rachel Zane on Suits, polishing a public persona that always looked one filter sharper than real life. Royal commentators now call the climb social mountaineering, less insult, more acknowledgement of relentless image craft. That perfectionist streak only intensified after the royal exit. Within months, she and Harry inked a reported $100 million Netflix pact, spun up Archewell Media, and teased a lifestyle label as ever, whose Instagram feed is literally one giant mood board logo. The newest play? A glossy Netflix cooking/wellness series with Love, Meghan, already green-lit for Season 2. Every rollout arrives in the same lacquered package, controlled lighting, curated captions, zero spontaneity, but not every partnership survives that shine. Spotify pulled the plug on its $20 million podcast deal in 2023 after just one season of Archetypes, and insiders grumbled that the couple's brand guardianship made fresh content impossible. Industry voices warned that the image machine can grind opportunities to dust if it values polish over authenticity. Inside that context, pregnancy isn't merely personal, it's a PR variable. In Hollywood, surrogacy has become a quiet fix for A-listers who dread stretch marks and downtime. Nicole Kidman, Kim Kardashian, and Lily Collins all faced backlash for choosing the route, yet many execs still whisper that social surrogacy keeps the billboard flawless. If Meghan saw motherhood through the same brand lens, secrecy around a surrogate starts to look less scandalous strategy, more logical extension of spotless marketing, which is why allegation threatens more than reputation, it imperils a multi-million-dollar identity built on poise and control. Because if the public decides the perfect frame was faked, every contract signed in its glow starts to wobble, and that's the nightmare scenario racing toward Buckingham Palace, where image means ceremony, but lineage means law. British surrogacy law is blunt. The woman who gives birth is always the legal mother, no matter whose genes are in the baby. She, and if married, her spouse, names the child, registers the birth, and appears on the first certificate. Only after the intended parents apply for a parental order within 6 months can the court issue a fresh certificate that seals the original from public view. Even then, UK surrogacy agreements carry no legal weight. NDAs or lifetime protection promises are unenforceable, and any payment beyond reasonable expenses is a criminal offense under the Surrogacy Arrangements Act, 1985. If S was indeed paid to disappear, that money would not just shred an NDA, it could amount to illegal commercial surrogacy, and because the first certificate would list S as Archie's mother, it could exist in sealed government files, a paper trail that can't be wished away with polished Instagram posts. Should she unseal it in court, The Sussex brand faces a regulatory minefield, so do any lawyers who helped to broker the deal. The stakes climb from legal to constitutional in a heartbeat. Succession to the crown is governed by centuries-old statutes, the Bill of Rights 1689, Act of Settlement 1701, and their modern tweaks that speak of heirs of the body, meaning legitimate, natural-born descendants. Legal scholars note the acts never imagined gestational carriers, leaving a gray zone where a surrogate-born royal could be deemed outside the line. Archie now sits sixth, right behind his father. If his birth were proven to violate surrogacy or legitimacy rules, the challenge wouldn't be a PR headache, it would force Parliament, and perhaps the courts, to decide whether the line itself needs redrawing. In other words, S doesn't just hold gossip, she holds a grenade whose pin is UK constitutional law. And every day Meghan and Harry stay silent, the timer ticks louder. Next, the rumor machine of 2024-2025 kicks into overdrive, turning those ticking seconds into a deafening countdown. By late 2024, the hashtag #ArchieSurrogate had become social media kryptonite, lurking on X feeds, splashing across TikTok stitches, and anchoring a new cottage industry of YouTube royal truth-teller channels. One clip, uploaded just 3 days ago, racks up 500,000 views in 48 hours as the host promises DNA results that will shake Buckingham Palace. Another reel on Instagram stitches archival bump footage with slow-motion zooms, captioned "fake pregnancy, decide for yourself." The algorithm pushes every hot take higher, and suddenly, the old 2019 conspiracy looks brand new, only this time it's turbocharged by short-form video and creator ad revenue. Mainstream tabloids, sniffing the click-through gold, pile on. Headlines scream, "Surrogate steps forward." Where is the proof? And could Archie lose his place in line? Daytime talkers devote entire segments to the legality of sealed birth certificates, while late-night hosts mine punchlines about royal receipts. Viewers who once shrugged at moon bump gossip now binge multi-part exposés that splice legal commentary with paparazzi, B-roll, and shaky TikTok evidence boards. The rumor mill has become a 24-hour content factory, and business is booming. Meghan's answer? A curated swipe on her personal Instagram, 9 artsy black and white photos from her 7th anniversary shoot, the final slide stamped with a single line, "Some stories are fiction, love isn't." No direct mention of surrogacy, but royal watchers clock the timing as a deliberate subtweet aimed at the storm outside. Critics call it a Hallmark card dodge, supporters hail it as classy restraint. Either way, the post fuels an even fiercer comment war, and #ArchieSurrogate trends worldwide for 48 straight hours. What makes this second-wave chatter so volatile is its coherence. In 2019, the theories thrived on grainy bump photos and guesswork. In 2025, they come packaged with alleged meeting dates, wire transfer fragments, and the looming promise that S will publish the lot if pushed. Each new upload strings those pieces together like a Netflix true crime board, and audiences find the storyline disturbingly neat. As one pundit quipped on a primetime panel, "It's no longer a rumor when you can plot it on a calendar." Every hour Meghan and Harry remain off mic, the narrative tightens, sealed certificates, Hollywood brand management, constitutional chaos. Even neutral outlets start running timelines titled, "Everything that still doesn't add up." The chatbot rumor mill might be entertaining, but its data points keep circling the same unspoken question: what are they so afraid we'll see? Which brings us to the ticking clock itself, receipts. Key. Because the woman called S claims she's ready to push one button and upload the evidence, and when that happens, the royal facade won't just crack, it could detonate. That countdown begins in our next chapter. Says the clock stops next week. In terse emails leaked to several royal watch channels, she's set a deadline. If her attorneys don't see a path to restitution, she will publish the bundle, scans of wire slips, time-stamped hospital ID bans, and one recorded conference call where 2 Sussex aides allegedly discuss total discretion and lifetime support. Behind palace walls, aides are gaming out every scenario. Option 1, hit back fast with a categorical denial and risk S, dropping proof the same hour. Option 2, negotiate quietly, pay what she claims she's owed, and pray a confidentiality clause still sticks in a UK court. Option 3. Keep the mute button pressed and hope public attention skitters to the next scandal, which in a TikTok-driven news cycle feels like betting the crown jewels on a coin flip. Commentators warn the Sussexes are cornered. A lawsuit invites discovery, meaning those sealed birth records could become Exhibit A. A payoff looks like guilt, and silence. The strategy so far is turbocharging the hashtag that just passed 400 million views on TikTok in under a month. One media analyst summed it up on live TV. Whatever move they make, the receipts land. The only question is whether they land in a courtroom or on Instagram stories. So the world waits. Royal traditionalists fear a constitutional domino, Hollywood insiders brace for brand fallout, and social media feeds refresh by the second. Because if S presses upload, this saga won't merely scorch a power couple, it could redraw the very rules of royal blood. TikTok. History has always crowned its own villains and heroes, but this time the battlefield is an inbox stamped receipts pending. If S uploads her files, the clash won't be fought in palace corridors or glossy interviews, it'll explode in real time on every screen in the world. One press of send could snap centuries of pomp into a courtroom drama, or, if the evidence fizzles, prove how fast rumor outpaces reality. Either way, the dilemma is bigger than one family's scandal. How much privacy do public figures deserve before secrecy turns into deception? Where's the line between a carefully managed image and outright manipulation? And if Archie's birth certificate really does hold a secret, does lineage still command loyalty in the age of screenshots and hashtags? The Sussexes' silence has forced us all into the jury box, weighing whispers against one unanswered question: what would the truth actually cost, and to whom? Drop your verdict below. Does silence signal guilt, legal savvy, or just exhaustion with the tabloid roar? Would receipts shatter the monarchy's mystique, or simply confirm what many already suspect? Let me know your take. Hit subscribe for the next chapter and stay tuned, because the countdown's nearly up, and once the timer hits 0, this storm won't just pass, it'll leave new rules in its wake. Until then, keep questioning the stories you're told and the silences that follow.